What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Alex, and today I'm going to be talking about the live-action Disney remake of The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid stars Halle Bailey, Melissa McCarthy, Javier Bardem, and the voices of Daveed Diggs, Awkwafina, and Jacob Tremblay. The youngest of King Triton's daughters and the most defiant, Ariel longs to find out more about the world beyond the sea, and while visiting the surface, falls for the dashing Prince Eric. With mermaids forbidden to interact with humans, Ariel makes a deal with the evil sea witch, Ursula, who gives her a chance to experience life on land, but ultimately places her life and her father's crown in jeopardy. Now, I shouldn't have to state what has been previously stated in my previous reviews for Disney live-action remakes. I'm a sucker for these movies. I have a soft spot for them. For most of them. I enjoy these to an extent. I like them as different alternate versions of their animated counterpart, and while they are unnecessary cash grabs and, of course, inferior to their original animation counterparts, that's not going to stop me from watching these or trying to find any level of enjoyment in them, and The Little Mermaid was definitely one that I enjoyed. It's one of the better ones for sure. Halle Bailey is incredible in this movie. Singing, smiling, moving all in and around every frame as much as she can. It's just a big smile on her face. And you know what? I can't gauge somebody's acting based on them smiling for the whole movie, but for me, it looked like she was committed. She wanted to be there. She knew that this was her big break, and she just completely went for it. You could tell that she was owning that. And because she was so joyful and very confident, and just that calming, soothing presence, I feel like, in this movie, I guess that's the best way to put it, it made me care a lot more about Ariel in this movie. And I'm not saying it's making me care a lot more about Ariel in this movie as opposed to the original animation, but I think both versions are on equal playing field here. I love the version of Ariel in the original, and I love this version of Ariel as well. Halle Bailey brought a lot to the role and really, really made me care about Ariel's journey in this movie. It was some subtle touches and changes to the character that I thought worked and were updated for today's world and for a modern audience. And like I said, there's changes in this movie. Most of it's the same, but they do change some things around. And while the changes might be inferior to what occurs in the animation, since the animation is like 83 minutes long, this is 135 minutes, so you're looking at another 50 minutes stretched out. Of course, they're inferior to the original animation, but I don't think many of the changes in this movie are all that bad. There's quite a few that I like. And there's quite a few that really expand out the characters and their roles in the movie and the world itself. And I think that that's what these Disney live-action remakes have to do. They should not be shot-for-shot remakes of the animated counterpart, like The Lion King was. For me, even if you have 80 to 85% of the same movie, but you still have about 15 to 20% of new original content or things that are switched around to make it feel fresh and make it feel like its own thing, I'm okay with it. Even if it isn't as good as what the animation brought to you, that's what these remakes have to do. They have to make themselves stand out from the original animation. They have to be their own thing. And that's what I feel like The Little Mermaid really succeeded on. What Beauty and the Beast succeeds with. And The Jungle Book, and Aladdin, and Dumbo. The entirety of Dumbo is completely changed just about. The underwater world felt very colorful, and I liked seeing all the different sea creatures. That I thought was really fleshed out. The surface world, as they call it in the movie, was okay. There wasn't enough variety there, but I did like Ariel stumbling along and trying to figure out how to adapt to that world. When Ursula gives her the powers of a human, essentially to walk on land and give her feet and legs and all that. And let's talk about Ursula for a minute, because Melissa McCarthy plays Ursula. She's the main villain, and that was something that I was worried about, because I'm not a huge fan of Melissa McCarthy, and in this movie, she's fine. I don't think she's terrible. I don't think she's bad. I was really worried going into this movie that she was going to bring a lot of the Melissa McCarthy isms and that really cringy humor that she's known for, or at least I think it's cringy, and I don't laugh at it at all. And there are moments like that in this movie where she does bring some of that cringy humor, unfortunately, and I didn't laugh at it. But for the most part, she's solid. I don't find her all that menacing or intimidating, but I think she was serviceable in the role for Ursula, and she didn't bother me. So I thought she was fine. What I didn't like was the CGI. I thought the CGI was a complete mess. Despite a very colorful world and what feels like a vibrant world is unfortunately weighed down by really terrible CGI. Sometimes it feels like it's at different frame rates. Sometimes it feels like it's still rendering. They try to do some quick cuts in certain scenes in this movie to try and hide that bad CGI when it feels like it is rendering, or if it feels like it's at a different frame rate than the rest of the movie, and you can tell it's not very good. Also, the new songs. No. No, wasn't a fan of the new songs, especially the Scuttlebutt song that everybody's been talking about and everybody has been saying it's cringe. It's cringe by itself, and it's even more cringe in the movie. I hated it. They tried to update the original songs as well, and of course, they're inferior. Everything about the movie that is adapted from the original animation is inferior. So you're probably saying, why am I giving it a positive review then? Well, I mean, here's my thing. I'm just so sick and tired of this argument with the Disney live-action remakes that they're bad because they're inferior. They're bad because they feel like soulless cash grabs, which, yes, they are cash grabs and they're unnecessary. But I think the biggest one that I see a lot on the internet is that when people do see clips from these movies and they see what is actually being done with the iconic characters that they love from the animation, it's almost as if they just feel like these movies are replacing the original animation when they're really not. So, of course, they're going to be inferior, but people acting like that the original animation is being erased from existence are crazy. Unless, of course, you're Disney Plus and you're actually erasing films from existence. I really don't get that argument. They're of course going to be inferior. Like prequels, like The Hobbit, of course it's going to be inferior. And people say, well, why make it? Well, I haven't really come up with a reason for that. The only thing I can think of is just to introduce these stories to a newer generation. It's not taking away what came before. What came before still exists, again, unless you're Disney Plus. So it's like, if you can pick which version of the movie you want to watch. If you want to watch the original animated one, do it. Nobody's taking that away from you. If you want to watch this version, do it. Nobody's taking that away from you either, and it's not replacing anything. There's one valuable lesson I've learned from Toy Story.
Have you been replaced?
Hey, what did I tell you earlier? No one is getting replaced.
There's also going to be a corner of the internet that is going to tell you to hate this movie automatically because of Haley Bailey. And it has to do with her skin tone. And I'm just going to say, don't listen to those people because they are racist. I really don't care, guys. Like, I mean, I have my issues with the movie, of course. I've stated that. But I find enjoyment in these movies. I got a soft spot for most of them. If they're bad, they're bad. I'll admit it. I didn't like the Pinocchio movie that came out last year, not the Guillermo del Toro one. I still haven't seen that. That's crazy. The one that went straight to Disney Plus. I didn't like it, and I admitted it. Like, Lady and the Tramp's okay. The Peter Pan and Wendy movie was okay. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be. Lion King is just a shot-for-shot remake. If these things aren't my thing, I'll admit it. But for the most part, from Jungle Book to Dumbo to Aladdin, to Mulan, to Beauty and the Beast, to this movie, to all the other ones that they made that I didn't even mention. I have liked them, and that's okay. I feel like if I say that on the internet, I could get crucified because people will accuse me of being like, oh, you like that over the original. And no, that's not the case. I still prefer the original Aladdin over the live-action remake. But, like, who's stopping me from watching the live-action remake? That's essentially my point here. And that's just the argument that I'm sick of. I will say I really enjoyed The Little Mermaid with a full bucket of popcorn. It's good. I liked it. The early buzz you've heard from it, listen to it. I mean, critics seem to be really digging it and saying it's one of the best. I think it's one of the best. So, I mean, make up your own damn mind, I guess. So if you have seen The Little Mermaid, let me know what you thought about it. I want your thoughts on the movie in the comment section below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I will see you at the movies somewhere.